Hello, welcome to Franco.com. I'm Franco. That's my Ravelry name, so I decided to name the website that. It's spelled Phrantcko. Don't forget the C, a lot of people tend to leave that out. Franco.com. I'd like to introduce you to the website and show you what it can do today. I'll run through it fairly quickly, but I think you'll get the idea. It can produce a pattern which is custom fit to the exact measurements that you enter using the yarn and the needles that you choose to use and enter the gauge for. So come with me now and let's take a look at Franco.com. Okay, so here we are at the home screen of Franco.com. You can scroll through to read a little bit more about what happens here. What kind of sweater do you make? How difficult is it? Why is it a perfect fit? And why would you want to make a plain sweater anyway? Well, because you can enhance it in a variety of ways quite easily. And then a little bit about myself. So once you've seen the home page, you can then go to sign up. I've already signed up, so I'll just enter my username right now. But as you see, all you need is the username, password, and confirm the password and email address. The email address is not verified. You don't have to go to your email and click anything. It just accepts whatever you enter. It's not used unless I have to communicate with you about some problem with the website. Perhaps you can't get in for some reason, or you're having a problem with it and you want to communicate with me, then I will know that it's you if it's coming from that email address. I may also send an email to you if the website changes a pattern pretty drastically and I see that you've purchased that pattern. Other than that, I won't send you any email. And I do not sell or share the email with anyone, so don't worry about that. When you go to the website and create an account, this is the first screen you see. It simply tells you what is next, and since we're in the beta test mode, you get this message about what the beta test mode is all about, but in the future that will not show. There are several steps to get started. The first step is I ask that you go to the forum, which is this link up at the top, and click on that and register up here in the upper right corner with another name. This is a separate registration than for Franco.com. And once you get there, you sign in there and maybe go to the category Introduce Yourself and introduce yourself to the community or to me. I would love to meet you and find out who you are. So then to get back to the website, you simply click on sweaters, and that takes you back to the page where you were. The second thing you need to do is to knit a swatch using the yarn and needles that you want to use for your sweater. The swatch should be 4 or 5 inches wide and the same tall. Measure over 4 or 5 inches of stitches. Count the rows and the stitches between your measurement, and you can enter all of those figures in the website, and the website will calculate your gauge for you. If you want to know more about knitting a swatch and even a suggestion about how you can get by without knitting a 5 by 5 inch swatch, go to the blog, which is up here, and when you click on it, you'll see there are a number of entries already in July. One of the entries is the most important step for a good fit, and that talks about knitting a swatch and shows you an alternative way to knitting swatches that you can use to create the gauge. Once you're done in the blog, you go back to the website by clicking here, back to Franco.com. Click on sweaters again, and then you are ready to create a new sweater right after you take the measurements of the person you're knitting for, whether that's yourself or someone else. You want the actual measurements of the person because the sweater pattern is going to be ready to create a sweater for that person with the fit that you desire. Once you've done all of that, you click this button, Create a New Sweater, to create a sweater. The first thing you're going to do is enter the type of yarn you're going to use. If you have the yarn band, that's ideal. You may be able to get away with just entering the brand name, Cascade Yarns or whatever, and the yarn name. Perhaps it's Anchor Bay. And if you enter those two pieces of information, then you can save the yarn and see if all the rest gets filled in. If anyone else has ever entered the information for that yarn band, then you will automatically get whatever they entered. You can correct it, and if your corrections are made, then that's what you'll see in your pattern. So then if you don't have the yarn band, however, all you need to enter is some description in the first field, brand name, and it will just accept that as the yarn you're using and continue on. Click Save Yarn again, and there you go. You've entered the yarn that you're using. Now you enter the measurements of the person you're knitting for. So the first time you go through this, you don't have any people you've entered before, so it automatically asks you to enter a name of somebody and their measurements. Let's say I'm going to knit a sweater for myself. Well, my real name is Frank, so I'll enter Frank. Chest is 44, neck is 16. This measurement, shoulder to waist, is an actual measurement on the body to a specified point on the body. Women tend to measure to their waist. Men usually measure to the top of their belt line. This is a measurement that does not change from sweater to sweater. You will later enter a hem length for the sweater, which will be how far below this point you want the end of the sweater to run. So here, you enter the measurement that you want for this person, and I will say that it is 25 inches for me. Upper arm circumference is the measured circumference, and we'll say 15. The wrist circumference is what it says. Nothing to explain here, as it says. Underarm to wrist, you measure the length of the sleeve, but measuring from the underarm. And so I will put that at 19.5. And we save that recipient being the person you're making the sweater for. Now you enter the details about this sweater that you're going to make. Do you want it to be a crew neck or a saddle shoulder? Those are the only two choices right now. I may add others later, like a V-neck or other styles. You select in this drop down who it's for. I just entered my name, so that's the only selection. But if I had produced more by adding new recipients, their names would appear in the drop down. Here's where I specify the actual length of the sweater. I know what I entered for my shoulder to waist measurement, so how much farther do I want it to go? I'll say 4 inches. I want the cuff to be 2 inches long. I want the ribbing to be 2 inches, and I'm going to do it in the color black and red. I think I'll give this sweater a title. You don't have to give it a title. If you don't give it a title, the title will be Crew Neck Sweater for Frank, or whoever you're knitting it for. If you give it a title, that will become the title. So let's call it Red and Black Wonder. Now, look at the swatch you've knitted already and the measurements you have. Tell us what needle size you used. I say 4. What was the stitch count? It was, let's say 22, and it was over 4 inches. The row count was 29, and that was also over 4 inches. And so we create the sweater pattern. Now we've entered everything. We've entered the yarn, the gauge, the specifications, who it's for, what their measurements are. Now we have to decide what the fit is that we want to include in the pattern. The fit can be any of these that you see on the left, and the fit corresponds to the ease, either negative, none, or positive. We consider a standard ease for a man's sweater 2 inches. You may consider it 4 inches, in which case you'll choose roomy. You may want a tight sweater that is quite snug on a man or a woman, and that would be 1 inch of ease. You can choose as many of these as you want. Eventually, when we are pricing these at full price, the first fit will cost one price, say $6. The second one will add another $2, and each additional one will add another $1. But right now, all of them are free in the beta test period, so you don't have to worry. You could enter them all. But just remember, the more you enter, the more complicated the pattern's going to look because it'll have more numbers in it. So now we say purchase the pattern. It goes over here, it shows us a schematic. The schematic is the same for all sizes. It is not proportioned to the sizes you've entered. So check the sizes that you see there and make sure they look right to you. The shoulder to hem length is 29 inches. That's about right, I guess, for a long sweater. The standard sizes are all in bold, so 23 is the standard width. So it's a 46-inch sweater. If I decide I don't want those sizes, I can click change sizes and go back and choose a different set of selections. Or I can just enter a credit card number right here. And in the beta test period, we can enter a fake credit card, which is told just above you. You enter any future date and any CVC number and any zip code. And it will accept that payment. You get charged nothing. And here is your sweater. Here's the title, Red and Black Wonder, crew neck sweater for Frank. Here are the sizes I selected. Here are the finished measurements, the chest. The length and the sleeve length don't change because it's all for the same person. Here's the materials, the yarn that you entered, and so forth. Here's the gauge, here's the schematic, and here's the beginning of the instructions. And so there is your sweater, completely custom designed for the person whose measurements you've entered using the yarn and needles that you choose. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the website. I hope you enjoy making sweaters on Franco.com. Please do interact with me in the forum. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to tell you any answers to questions or hear any suggestions you have. I've already received a few good suggestions, and I have implemented them already. I'm very responsive to anything you may suggest. Have a nice day, and happy knitting.